Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. We're going to do something different today. Instead of talking about people here in the ecosystem, we're going to talk about ourselves. So this kind of reminds me of the Muppet Show with Beaker. We talk about me, me, me. So I'm together with Brian Wallace. We're working
I thought
together
we
on
were
the.
the two old guys like shouting at everybody from the top.
We don't want to be those guys.
You said
We,
the Muppet Show, so
we want to be the ones in the show itself. So I've talked about Israel Innovation Springboard before. I've written articles about it, but I want to talk to you about it because we want everybody to know what it's about. So I've talked about how we're changing location and how we're working on different industries and how we're changing focus. But I asked AI to put it together and to make it into a poem. I just gave it some prompts and I'll read it out. So
I'm
the poem is From the Coast to the Heartland. It's a couple minutes. Poetry wasn't my best subject in school, but we'll make do. All right, so from the coast of the heartland, the Israeli tech ship sails a choppy deep sea with a hull made of giants, the state and VC. The colleges chip in, the founders take the wheel, but keeping it steady is a heavy ordeal. A leak suddenly springs, the deck starts to tilt, reminding the crew how it's hastily built. The captain screams, "Layoffs! Let some folks go!" while the state fights the dollar by dumping out dough. Then the university pipeline starts running quite dry, no longer providing enough startup supply. So the state steps right in with a specialized plan to patch up that leak just as fast as they can. Though cyber defense and AI are the fuel, the engines are lagging, no longer as cool. The gears are all grinding, it's sputtering on. The maximum speed of this vessel is gone. "Look there," shouts the watch. A flash in the deep. A shiny rare unicorn makes hearts skip a beat. Then an M&A whale crashes into the scene. A thrilling wild ride, but it doesn't fix the machine. The compass is stubborn and stuck in its ways, repeating the same coastal route for days. It zeroes in on San Fran or docks in New York and pops the same bubbly, uncorking the cork. The ship goes coast to coast, bypassing the plane, ignoring the heart of the U.S. domain. It flies past the interior, locked into a loop, missing out on opportunities beyond the coastal group. They crash through New York Harbor like the Kool-Aid guy, bursting through the wall and shouting, "Oh yeah," on high. A loud splashing entry that makes a great show, but builds a little trust that makes partnerships grow. But look at the horizon. The Springboard takes flight to bring these new sectors into the light. With ag tech and food tech and energy fuels, we're changing the chart and rewriting the rules. We'll steer past the coast where the giant waves roll to plow out a course for a different goal. We'll build the deep trust that a partner requires to fuel their momentum and light up their fires. We'll look at their needs, matching every detail, bringing Israeli tech to market and scale. From Indy to Nashville, where industrial engines glow, we'll bring the best Israeli solutions to help them all grow. And that's it.
a
Covers
little
it.
louder for everybody in the back. So for those of you who are not poetically eloquent in both the sending and receiving, maybe there's another metaphor that we can use, and it's the Titanic.
Okay.
Everybody knows that one, right? What happens to the Titanic? Why am I
Ah,
saying it? Because everybody's living it. Hello, we are here to be your lifeboat. So buckle up. Let's go.
so this kind of covers, yeah, this kind of covers what's going on
Oh,
here.
sorry, is this too hard?
No, no.
Dial it down.
I'm just wondering if what could survive on that, that piece of wood in the middle of according to the movie. If two people
No,
could.
they're all dead. That's the point. You have to watch it for 3 hours. Spoiler alert. Yeah, I should have prefaced that. Sorry.
So this is what's going on here as far as what we want to do. I think it kind of summarizes it. To make it and put in simple terms, we're looking past New York and San Francisco. We're looking into the middle of the country. We're looking to,
Let's talk about that, Naftali. So
yeah.
the average Israeli, if you give them a map of the United States or where are the places you plan on going to get funded, to get go to market and all that, everybody from Israel is good at New York and specifically New York City, Miami, because it's basically like going to Tel Aviv, similar climate, and LA/San Francisco, which are not the same place, but the metropoles of California. Okay, great. That's 3 states, but the good news is that there's 47 more. Most of the states are much larger than the Israeli economy. Some are multiple times the size of the Israeli economy. And what they should know, and what we will educate and continue to elucidate, is that not only are there undiscovered countries that are states, but they will even be treated better because many of them are extremely pro-Israel and are less competitive than the places that we just said.
Let's talk about the industries. The ecosystem here is based on cyber and defense and AI, which kind of looks like it's going to support cyber and defense. There are many other industries here. So what other industries? What are the main industries and the places that we're looking into? And second part of the question is, how do U.S. enterprises look at Israel innovation overall? And what do you think about that?
So, I mean, I think that the reason that the United States is the strongest economy in the history of the world is that it's very diverse. As much as everybody thinks that America is Silicon Valley and America is New York City, there's places like boring old Ohio that are about, I think, sixth or seventh in GDP. The economy of Ohio by itself is about $1 trillion a year. What's that? Three times the size of Israel, right? So it's wild. Even if you look at the Fortune 500, which is the top 500 public companies in the United States. What are all of them? All over the place. You've got oil and gas, you've got healthcare, you've got supply chain, logistics, shipping, right? All these different things. And I think that America's heartland, or the greater Midwest and South, are a very interesting economic opportunity because they a little bit compete with each other. I believe in coalitions as opposed to just competing all day. But I think when you look at, let's start with supply chain and logistics. The contiguous 48 states has a ring of cities, places like Louisville, Nashville, Cincinnati, all these places out there, Indianapolis. There's a few of them that all kind of compete on supply chain and logistics because they are all about 1 day drive from 2/3 to 3/4 of the US population. So maybe you can't drive to Alaska, you can't drive to Hawaii, maybe you can't drive to the Pacific Northwest in California, but you can hit up everything else in a day's drive. And that's significant. That's why in Louisville, you have UPS as their air hub and the international air hub, what's it called? World Port. Indianapolis has the second largest world port. Nashville has FedEx, and Cincinnati, CVG Northern Kentucky Airport, has Prime Air.
So how do all these places look at Israeli innovation? What is the general feeling
They
overall?
don't. Yeah, they don't have each other's phone numbers on
So how
WhatsApp.
do they so how do they do innovation? They take care of it just themselves,
I
look
mean,
outwards.
America's not dumb, but I
Right.
think that when we think about true diversity of thought and innovation, it takes all kinds from all backgrounds and all worldviews. So the American mindset, a lot of people think that America is a bunch of crazy cowboys, and the only reason that they think that is that they haven't met crazy Israelis who are even crazier cowboys, which are more like, as your AI generated poem talked about, the Kool-Aid Man. Everybody knows the Kool-Aid Man back in the 80s, 90s. It's
Sure,
important we say explain
most
it.
people could Google it or ChatGPT it or whatever
Real
they do now.
short. So there used to
Yeah.
be a TV commercial where all the kids would stand around waiting for the Kool-Aid Man. Now, the Kool-Aid Man is a gigantic picture of red Kool-Aid as a belligerent, jacked up, weird cartoon character that somehow got approved by corporate America a while ago. And he always busts through the wall and says, "Oh, yeah." And that's kind of the Israeli mindset to a lot of things. Sometimes that brashness and get it out there kind of mindset is great. Sometimes it is an inhibitor because people don't necessarily like that brashness. And sometimes you have to kind of put on a suit and go into corporate America. So I think that all these different societies need each other. I think that they can supplement each other's strengths and cover some of the more rough around the edges parts.
So you also run a conference called Innovate. Let's for people in the audience who don't know, maybe you could explain what Innovate is all about.
Sure. Innovate Summit is 3 years old at the time of this recording. It has so far been a yearly global innovation summit of heart-centered innovation. So not just a lot of people are like, oh, so it's a technology conference. I mean, it's tech friendly, but that's not what it's there for. A lot of it is my personal network of people that I've known, liked, trusted, and believe in them, take stock in them, can vouch for them, have worked with them. So these are incredibly kind, yet also powerful people that have been there, done that, that probably never have to go to a conference again. So when you go to my conference, it's almost like skip 20 flights around the world because they're all going to come here because we're all go-givers, not go-getters. So we're going to put other people first. But we're also capitalists and we want to do business. So it's relational and then transactional. It's been in Kentucky for the last 3 years. And at the last one, which we just did in Louisville, Kentucky, we announced a biannual summit, which is slated for October in Nashville.
The Nashville one's going to be different from the Louisville one in any way?
Sure. Who doesn't want to go to Nashville?
What way?
In every which way. So, for two reasons. One, Nashville has been growing much faster than most other major US cities. It, as evident by some of the draw that it's had of corporate headquarters. You have AllianceBernstein, which is a very large wealth management company based in New York City, moved its headquarters into downtown Nashville recently. Starbucks out of Seattle, Washington, just moved their headquarters, and Oracle, which is kind of a big technology company that used to be in California that I think set foot in Texas, but Nashville ended up winning them. So a lot of the smart money is moving to Nashville, but the allure of Nashville is very interesting. So it's known as kind of a fun town. It depends on how you know it and who thinks about it. Either it's a fun place to go if you are getting ready to have like a wedding party, or if you like country music, and if you just like Tennessee whiskey and all of that. And of course, all of the music side. It's known as the Athens of the South because it has many very good universities, such as Vanderbilt University, started by a guy that kind of kickstarted the US economy a few hundred years ago. So you've got all those different things going for it. So the allure of it is great. The airport is extremely accessible. So for instance, if you live in New York, you could probably take a flight every half hour to hour across 10 different carriers for 150, $200 for 2.5 hours in the air. It's a pretty good day. So I imagine that we will have a larger swath of people that have been wanting to come, but it was not as logistically accessible in the past.
So a lot of conferences here in Israel, especially, are
Oh boy.
yeah, they're
We're going there.
Israelis by
Did I
nature are.
self-censor now? Yeah, go on.
I just want to make clear to the audience, we're not, we really want to do good things for Israel. Let's get that out of the way. All right. But we also have to be honest about ourselves. A lot of times Israelis are, well, they have an attitude, what's in it for me? Let's try to answer that. Why would Israeli startup or whatever, why would they want to come to Innovate? What could they possibly? I know you can't promise anything. You can't even promise anything at a conference going on here.
Well,
At the end of
let's
the day.
address the elephant in the room. Since October 7th, most people that go to conferences have not been going by and large to conferences in Israel. So Israel has a problem to get large crowds of people. From an operational security perspective, from a logistics perspective, a lot of people are just like, I don't know if the flights are going to get canceled. So and I'm not poking at anybody, and I fully recognize the problem, but we need to address the problem. We can't just pretend it's not a problem. So by and large, people are not coming the ways that they used to. Or maybe some of the Europeans will come, but a lot of the Americans have not been coming to Israeli conferences. It's very sad. Hopefully things will be back on track sooner than later. But that's a big reason, first and foremost, why any Israeli should come to a conference in America, period, whether it's Innovate or anything, because everybody's not coming to them, so you have to go to where the market is. Secondly, and importantly and more specific to the point of Innovate Summit, we have, as part of our mission and vision, that we are here to build a bidirectional bridge between the United States and Israel economically. We do that across business. We do that across faith. It is not a faith-based conference, but it's a faith-friendly conference. There are many, many Christian Zionists that believe in Israel and want it to succeed monetarily as well. So we've been attracting a lot of people of the Christian faith, of the Jewish faith, but you don't have to show your faith badge to be a part of it. But where it has been in the logistical Midwest and South is a very religious part of the United States. So it's worked really well. We've also every year had panels and speakers that represent Israel, Israel Consulate, different startups, Israel Innovation. So people are well aware that this is part of the ethos and DNA makeup that makes the conference great. So, I mean, if that's not a good enough reason for you guys, I don't know. Like, should I be standing out in the street corner with free money? Because that's pretty much what I just said.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of Israelis going for that, but
Everybody
nothing.
says what's in it for me. And I would say maybe this isn't the conference for you because, again, you kind of have to slow your roll, understand that the world is not transactional as much as you think. Because, Naftali, if you and I don't know each other and I try to shake your hand and with my other hand am stealing your wallet, you might not want to talk to me anymore. So that's what the equivalent is when you're just going in for the kill. Maybe
Sure.
it's worth developing those relationships for lifetime connections, referrals, business, partnerships, funding, go to market. And that's the game.
Yeah, so just everybody knows, the Springboard is also working sort of on the same bridge, but we're more the, let's say, operational side of things. What we want to do is we want to actually bring the two sides together and have the mechanism in place to bring the two sides together. The conference is, to have the conversations happen, to have the networking happen, but the overall continuation and the overall what are we going to do together type of thing has to have a mechanism in place, and that's what the Springboard is about. So Innovate and Springboard are closely working together, and I think that's a good thing. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it in May because of, you said, the flights are not just from the States to here. It's I was concerned that the things were heating up then too, and I couldn't make it in May. It
By
works
and
both ways.
large, I think we only had one person this year come from Israel, but there were other Israelis already in America that came. Plenty of them came. But even though you couldn't make it and we were worried about logistics and getting stuck on either end of the planet, I was there and represented the Springboard. And on our Israel Innovation panel, I made a full announcement about how the Springboard is here and here to stay, and we got some news coverage about it. So another way to think about it is that Innovate is the meeting place and Springboard is the continuation in between the times that we meet.
Right, correct. And we're also, as we mentioned, we're talking about different industries. So, what kind of industries were represented at the last Innovate?
Again, it's all over the place. So we're the kind of place that you're going to meet Harlem Globetrotters and people that climb mountains and people that reset neurophysiology and healthcare and supply chain. If you've ever heard the phrase, what kind of gift do you get for the man who has everything? This is a really intelligent crowd that runs stuff for the whole planet. So, what education, what heart, what spirit, what business, what tactical do you give to a crowd that knows everything? Well, nobody knows everything about everything. Usually people know like their own nuggets of knowledge in their silos. So we try to do things that are both tactical and practical, right? So nuts and bolts about stuff, but also mindset things. And that was definitely prevalent and very appreciated across the crowd.
What can you tell us about numbers? I saw a post by somebody from Innovate that they raised some seed money for their startup based on what interactions they had at Innovate. What you don't have to go into specific stuff. What can you say about what comes out of Innovate? Because that's still we have to deal with the fact that a lot of people here would want to know what comes out of such an event. So what can you say about that?
Yep. So the post and success story that you're referring to happened to somebody who came to year 2 of Innovate. There was a person by the name of David Homan who actually led off some of the activities for our year 2 first night. And I actually didn't even know that he was raising money for his startup. But because of the connections that he got there, he was able to close out a 500K seed round as a direct result, and this is a well-connected person, as a direct result of the event. So that's from last year. People have gotten brand deals, partnerships, sponsorships, endless kinds of business development, direct business, right? So this isn't everybody holding hands around the campfire and kumbaya or whatever. That's nice. In case everybody doesn't hear me, if they just think it's touchy-feely and relationships and all of that, sure, of course. We want to feel good about the people that we want to know, like, and trust that deserve our business because we don't want to let in crazy people and narcissists and people that are fake friends. The world has enough of that. And in the prevalence of hyperscaling AI, where everybody's just pushing out garbage to one another, this is the last frontier. You better get a good network. If you don't have a good network, use our network. And we're picky about who comes to it. So if you're going to be a jerk, you're not welcome. But yeah, it is officially geared for people to have better business development. And I would tell you that people ask the wrong questions about numbers. So the first question that people get wrong is, how many people come? You could pay people to come to something. That is a complete nonsensical cover story number that
There's a lot of
amateurs care
there's a lot
about.
of that.
I care about the fewest amount of people to make the most impact. All signal, no noise. I don't want noisy people that are just going to bother people that don't want to be bothered, right? It's hard to get these people's attention, right? There are people that represent other governments. There are people that have 20 different businesses. There are people that work at the upper echelons of some of the largest companies in the history of the planet, and they don't have time to be treated poorly. So consider carefully why you want to come. And if you can't behave, send someone who can. So it's more about what kind of ridiculous upper level can you get to come to something like that? And then ask them, how was it? And they say, this is the best thing I've been to in ages. That's your bar of success and nothing else.
And what intrigued me was you're actually interviewing the people coming to the conference in order to find out what they're all about and what intrigues them and what interests them, and you're actually kind of doing matchmaking. Like, these are the
We are
people
doing
at
matchmaking.
these are the people that you really should meet while you're there, and you treat it more as hospitality rather than a bad way to say it, but a meat market.
Correct. There's enough meat market, transactional networking things to fill several oceans. We're going to need more oceans to fill in a
Right.
minute. The thing that you're referring to is something called connection conductors that Drew Sutton runs. And what we do is we have a file, we have a dossier on every single person that's in the room. Speakers, sponsors, attendees, doesn't matter. We know everything about everybody who's there. And so we have emotional intelligence, actual raw processing power, IQ, intelligence, and a database on everybody. So if Naftali or Joe Schmo comes, we know what these people want. And if you actually ask people what they want, aside from just deals or whatever, if you really put somebody to the mat, they're going to tell you they wish they could just meet one really great connection that they could just be in touch with and do all sorts of business and partnerships with. So what if instead of you randomly getting one person, maybe if you're lucky at a lot of these dumb places, what if you had 20? What if you had 30? What if you had 40? What if you got to know these people really well across 3 days that you already wanted to partner on everything? What if it was the next co-founder? What if it was the next $1 million you were looking for that you're striking out at all your other things, right? So really, like, everyone is on stage and everyone is capable of it.
Right. I participated in a mini event here with it in the same format. And what I can say is I was on a panel, but it doesn't matter that there's a panel in the room because everyone in the room is on the panel, so to
Correct.
speak. Yeah.
Right. So too many people want to spend too much money to get a famous talking head to be at the front of the room. And the person shows up 5 minutes before, does their talk, stares through everybody, is there to sell their book and sell their course and sell their whatever, and then they're gone. That's not how a community works. This is a community, period. So every person to your left and to your right is fully capable of their zone of genius, whether it's getting up on stage, podcasting, architecting space elevators, whatever.
Okay, cool. So Springboard is here. Innovate is here. The two are together. We're complementary to each other. I hope everybody could understand what we're doing. We're here to change the world. We're here to change the way the Israeli tech ecosystem connects with the US. We're here to not change. We're here to give a stage to the technologies that most people here don't pay attention to, but they should. And we're focusing on getting more Israeli product to the market to solve problems and challenges for customers in the US. That's what we're all about.
One more thing before we go. We are here to remove your brain from the shackles of your limiting beliefs. You may be an expert in your field and you may have a million patents, but that doesn't mean that you have all the pieces of the puzzle. And we're here to fill in the gaps.
Correct. And we're learning a lot along the way.
That's right.
All right, Brian. Great to talk about this because we're talking about ourselves. So sometimes we have to talk about ourselves. So great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.